Okay, so I took an extra day and wrote it down. Maybe at some point we'll go over how to write something like this down, but for many who don't know how to write stuff like this down it could be a very boring video, but it came to me a little more easily than I thought it was going to come, as far as kind of writing it down, going through it a couple times, writing in the chords. This is kind of the more work-y, chore-y part of the process. For me, it's kind of a pain to sit here and draw in these dots on this piece of paper, and the even slightly more arduous part is also the I gotta write in the rhythm, because I kind of need something that's gonna be a little bit permanent, so that 12 or 13 years from now, if I sit down, I can actually play this song if I really want to. And when I do that, when I write stuff down on a piece of paper, I always write in the key of C. Like I said, I took a day off and did a lot of thinking about this, because it's a little complicated when you get into music theory and you get into what key are you in? Well, I'm in the key of C. What does all that mean? Not only that, how did I decide which chords I was going to use? I told you I was going to try to write a 3-chord song, and so far this verse anyway is a 3-chord song. It's, well, I wrote it down in the key of C, but I decided to play it on the guitar in the key of G. What are you talking about, Scott? Well, don't worry about it. All right, briefly, what time is it? I gotta go to work at some point. In our Western or American, it's not just American, anyway, the Western musical paradigm, we have named each note one of the letters A through G, and then it just starts over: A, B, C, D, E, F. That doesn't sound right, does it? It's 7 notes: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's 7, isn't it? Math is hard. So it's these 7 notes. If you look at a piano, there are a bunch of octaves, we call them. Well, there's only 7 notes in an octave. 7 white keys on the piano in every octave, because the 8th one, if you know that word, octave, octagon, 8 sides. Octave is 8 notes, but the 8th note is kind of the same as the first note. It's just 8 notes higher. So if you take a C, do, 8 notes higher is do. It's early in the morning, so it's hard to sing. A lot of phlegm, if you can't tell. So for each of those, A through C, each of those is not just a note. It can be a key. Each one can be a chord. So if something is in a certain key, we're doing it in the key of G. So our little scale of notes, our set of notes, if you will, is G through F, isn't it? So you start in the alphabet at G. So it goes G, A, B, C, D, E, F. That's our scale that we're using. If you'll notice on the piano, there are those black keys too. Those are sharps and flats. A sharp raises the pitch a half a step, and a flat does the opposite. Like I said, at some point I'll maybe make a video and explain that a little bit better for those of you who are curious, want some music theory. Anyway, so we're in the key of G. Not only are there those 7 notes, there are actually at least 7 chords that we could use in the key of G. And those chords, just to simplify, let's abandon this alphabetic system and just go for a numbers system. The G chord is the 1 chord, right? So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, that makes the C chord the 4 chord, doesn't it? So G, A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3, 4. And at some point I'll show you how to play these chords on the guitar, I guess, but it's not what this video is about. I just wanted to play through with guitar accompaniment and sing this this line, this verse that we wrote. Actually, I only wrote down the first half of the verse, but that's okay. Maybe it's good for these videos to be slightly shorter. So next time I'll do the same thing with the second half of the verse. Anyway, this is the last little point I'm going to make, and then I'll actually play through it a few times for you so you can hear what this sounds like with guitar accompaniment. Hey Scott, I have a question. There's someone in the back of the room raising his hand and has a question, right? How do you decide which chords go with this little melody you wrote? Yeah, that's a very good question. Maybe I'll make a little video and kind of show you that on the piano. The piano is slightly easier to understand, at least for me, than on the guitar. And I thought a lot about that, how to help you guys figure out the right chords for what you've written. If your song is extremely simple, like ours is, then you're probably only going to need these 3 chords. The 1 chord, in our case the G chord, the 4 chord, in our case the C chord, and then the 5 chord is a D chord in our song. That's your 3 chord song. 1, 4, and 5. Let's do the scale real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's our 4 chord, and just 1 up from that. 4, 5. That's our 5 chord, right? 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. It's actually really simple, and I'll explain it better at some point, but try not to worry too much about it for right now. But for whatever melody you're writing, if you go over it enough times and kind of dink around with different, just start with bass notes. Don't worry if you don't know how to play a chord on the piano, or my piano's over there, that's what I'm indicating in that direction, as if you can see. Just imagine a piano in that big direction. Just use the bass note. There's your 1 bass note. That's kind of your tonic, the root of the entire key that you're in. There's your 4, right? And then just 1 up from that is your 5. And there's this weird thing that all of our ears have kind of been trained that 5 chord leads back to the 1 chord. It's kind of the finishing of every thought you have musically generally ends with the 5 chord leading to the 1 chord. Okay, let's try this. I already kind of forgot how it goes, but that's okay. I'm so glad I found you. I figure my whole life through has led to this moment with you. There's no end to the things we can do. That's it. Do you want to hear it one more time? So we start on the 4 chord. I don't know why it worked out that way, but that's what sounds good to me. That's maybe kind of the key for how you're going to figure out what chords do I use here. Figure out what sounds good to you. To me, it sounded good to have the 4 chord to begin our little verse here. Almost every song anybody's going to write is going to end on the 1 chord, just like ours did, right? That's just how it goes. The 1 chord's the most important. It tethers the whole song together, so that's usually how it ends. Anyway, I'm so glad. Let's just do a strum. I'm so glad I found you. I figure my whole life through has led to this moment with you. There's no end to the things we can do. And then the second half of the verse will go exactly the same way. The rhythm might be slightly different because we already kind of did this, but we've kind of stuffed the words into the box of these measures. How many measures do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I have 6 measures. So usually in music, it comes in groups of 4. So really this verse should be 8 or 16 measures long. I guess it could be 12. That's what it'll end up being, is 12, huh? But it's 6 and 6, and that's weird. It has a weird rhythmic feel, but it's okay. And when you write your stuff might be really weird. Especially if you're a beginner, you're going to come up with some odd stuff, but if it sounds good to you, chances are it's going to sound good to somebody else. So, anyway, pretty simple, pretty easy stuff. If you don't have a piano, download GarageBand, and that comes with a little mini piano on your phone, and you can dink around with that. Just figure out, like I said, just come up with just a bass note. So we're in the key of G. That's our G for our bass note. Let's do it just with the bass notes. I'm so glad I found you. I figure my whole life through has led to this moment with you. There's no end to the things we can do. See, the more you hear it, the more it's going to make sense, right? Just for fun, I've got a minute, I suppose. So what if let's do a 1 chord to start it, right? I'm so glad I found you. I'm so glad I found you. I figure that's not terrible. I like the 4 chord better. But what if you just want to do the 1 chord? I'm so glad I found you. Let's reverse them, and we'll use the 4 chord where we used the 1 chord before, right? So, I'm so glad I found you. I figure my whole life through has led to this moment with you. I'm still going to go back to the 1 at the end of certain phrases, but if you'll notice, where I had the 4 chord, I did a 1 chord. Where I had the 1 chord, I did a 4 chord. Where I had the next 4 chord, I did a 5 chord. It sounds okay like that, right? But I still ended up on the 1. There's no end. Let's stick with the 1 chord. There's no end to the things we can do. I still want to go 5-1 at the end, just because I think that always sounds best. But I substituted that last 4 chord with the 1 chord, didn't I? I don't know how much of this is making sense. I hope it kind of makes sense. The 1 chord is the key that you're in our case, G. 4 chord is 4 notes up from that. C, G, A, B, C. The 4th note in that series of alphabetic letters is C. The 5th one is D, A, B, C, D. It's really simple, but it's... All right, I'll end with this. Now that I've played you the song, I always have had a really good ear. That's why these chords, as I come up with a melody, they're kind of just implied in what the little melody I've made up, right? It just... A lot of people are good at math, or at programming computers, or at molding something out of clay into an awesome sculpture, or painting something, or just, what if you're just a writer, right? You write stories, or you write whatever. There are a million things you can be good at. What if you just have a gift for the sciences, or a particular science? You look up at the stars, and astrophysics just is second nature to you, right? A lot of things you can be good at. You might be good at public speaking. You might be good at cooking. This is just something that you were born to do. Like a fish takes to water, you take to that thing. Well, for me, I've always thought that was music. I've shared with you on a previous video that the writing of the poetry, the lyrics, comes even more easily to me than music, which is weird. But anyway, the point being, I'm really good at music. I have a good ear, meaning, well, it has a lot of different meanings, but I can play things by ear. Maybe you've heard that phrase. That means if I hear a song on the radio, it takes a little bit of work, but I can sit down at the piano and learn how to play that song from the radio. I've learned a few guitar songs that way. But mostly on the piano. I play several Billy Joel songs. This stuff just comes second nature to me. So, that's how it's been almost since birth. Same with my brothers and my dad, barbershop quartet, and songs in church as well, in 4-part harmony. When we were really young, my mom kind of took the reins and taught us our parts and helped us. She's very musical as well. But at some point I took that over, and I became the leader of our goofy little barbershop quartet band, I guess you could say. Even to the point that I would arrange some of the songs that we sang, meaning take a melody and turn it into 4-part harmony for men. So I could do all that just naturally. Well, I was always going to be a high school choir teacher, so I had to become a music major when I went to college 30 years ago. I kind of went kicking and screaming into music theory class. I had enough piano lessons. I knew how to read music and knew a few little things that you pick up from your piano books and your piano teacher, but I don't want to learn why music sounds good. I don't want to learn the rules. I just want to play by ear. I want to just feel it and be a natural. Well, I already was all of that. And I knew this was one of the hoops I would have to jump through to reach my goal of being a music teacher. So I pretty much took all of the music classes required to be a music teacher, but I kind of changed my major before I got into any of the education classes. So I finished my bachelor's degree in a different major, and it's pretty much been useless to me, so I don't know how much I encourage anybody to go to college. Anyway, I ended up learning more about music theory than anybody really needs to know. It's just, there's so much to it. I've already shared some of it, and you can see that it can become complicated in a hurry. If you just kind of like to sing, and you sing along to the radio, and you're interested in writing music, writing songs, making up songs, writing words and whatnot, but you don't really know what you're doing, this is completely overwhelming. I had all those years of piano lessons, and then those couple of years of music school, I guess you could say, in college, and music theory. So, I mean, if you have any interest in that, you have to look into it. The internet, I'm sure, is full of stuff that'll teach you about music theory. In fact, there's a guy, I forget his name, but he has those videos, what makes this song great? Here's a guy that I said I know way more than anybody should know about music. This guy knows probably 10 times more than I know. Plus, he can play every instrument, seemingly. This guy's amazing. Rick Beato is his name. It just came to me. What makes this song great? So he'll take the awesome songs that I love from the 80s. He goes back a little farther, I think. So he'll do some 70s songs as well. And just kind of talk about it. But as you watch his videos, it's extremely apparent that he knows everything about music theory. So if that's something you're interested in, that's a good resource for you to learn kind of some of these things. I'm going to stay extremely basic, because these videos are for people who kind of are beginners and want to learn how to write a song. Or even if you've been writing songs, maybe watching me go through my process is going to kind of help you in some way, even if you're pretty advanced. I'm not saying, hey, don't watch my videos if you already know how to write songs. Stop it. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying I want to keep it very basic. But you kind of, it's, even though I went kicking and screaming into music theory class in college, I am glad I know those things. It kind of helps me to have a better grasp of what in the world I'm doing, right? It makes it much easier to write down this stuff. Before I went to college, could I have written that stuff? Well, not nearly as easily as I can now, because it all makes a lot more sense. And I don't think learning to grasp the principles of music theory took anything away from whatever my natural ear or natural musical instincts are. In fact, in addition to music theory, there was this class taught by a different professor called ear training. So it's not like you go to college and they're ignoring the whole, how do you develop your sense of pitch and, you know, what kind of ear that you have. If you listen to a melody of a song, how do you figure out a harmony part to that? To many of you, maybe that comes naturally. And if somebody's singing a song that's well known, you can jump right in and sing a melody or a harmony part and make an awesome duet. Maybe that comes naturally to you too, and that's great. I'm not putting myself above anybody, but all I'm saying is the music thing comes extremely naturally to me, and I think there's a way for me to teach that and share that and help people who have varying levels of musical talent. There are two components to this. There's your talent. Maybe you have some natural gifts or a lot of natural gifts musically. But the other half of that is desire and motivation and enthusiasm. If you're all talent and no motivation, no desire to create a song, you're never going to create a song. Can you be all desire and no talent? I don't know. Imagine you could create something. I had a voice teacher back in those college days, Mrs. Harris, that said that everybody can sing. I've always thought there were people who are kind of monotones, who can't carry a tune in the bucket, as the saying goes. But she said everybody can be taught to sing. So maybe everybody has a kernel of musical talent that can be developed. But desire is what is going to guide you to do the work. This was work to write this puppy down. I'm mean, it wasn't that bad. Once I got started, I was reminded that, oh, it's not that bad to sit here and write these notes down. What did it take me? 10 minutes or less? It wasn't that bad. And it's a great way for me to see now, since I know how to read music, and you'll have to come up with a different process yourself. Maybe your memory's really, really good, or maybe you just make your recording on your own phone, listen to that a few times, and you'll just kind of memorize it, and you can internalize it, and you can work with it from there on, and then just figure out chords and figure out, well, now what? Do I have a cool bass line that goes with it, you know? There's your cool, super cool bass line. Yeah, I just copied that from some old song. So that's about it. You've now heard at least the first half. I'll quickly do the second half on my upcoming video. And I keep saying it's going to be the last thing I share, but as I finished writing this down, the chorus came to me. So you won't be able to watch me come up with the words and the music for the chorus. I'll just kind of share it with you. But the melody kind of came to me first, which is cool. It's a cool way to do it, because the melody can be something that just, when you've already got some ideas in mind for what your words are going to be, it can drive the lyrics, and the lyrics might come much more easily because you've already got a general idea in mind, and you come up with some melody that you really like, and it leads to, it seems and feels very naturally, words. So that's what happened with the chorus. The chorus is finished. It's just a couple lines long. It'll be really short, but the idea is to be short and sweet and simple, and I think we've accomplished that here. So next time, I'll finish the second half of this verse, or maybe we'll turn it into 2 extremely short verses. I don't know. Maybe we're done with lyrics. I'd like to write another verse. So we'll do that and figure all of that out. This can be kind of a long series of videos, but each one is around a half hour, so that's not so bad. Okay, and as we go forward and I write more songs and record that whole process on video with you, I think I'll get better at helping you to understand how to come up with the chords that go with your melody. You know, maybe come up with different, attacking that problem from different perspectives. That's what I want to try to do. And maybe if you watch a few of these series of videos, it'll kind of be clear to you, and you can begin to figure that out. But then again, maybe part of the fun for anybody who wants to write music is sitting down and figuring out how to do that. How do you do that? I'm showing you how I do it, but there's more than one way to skin a cat, so you might just want to sit down and kind of figure that out. Again, maybe before I start another song, I'll kind of show you the very few chords that I know how to play on the guitar, but I know how to play enough chords that, I guess my favorite key to play in is G. That's what this is in on the guitar. And I'll show you my capo at some point. You can play in any key you want if you use your capo. I'll show you that. It's really cool. That's a really cool thing about a guitar. If you're going to play things in different keys on the piano, that comes pretty easily to me, but it can be very complicated, especially certain keys that you're trying to play in. It's just, I'm going to play this in C sharp major. Oh, okay, good luck. Can't remember how many sharps that has, and I'll explain all of that, I suppose, at some point. But piano can be very complicated if you're playing in a difficult key, and especially if you learn the song in a really simple key, and you decide to sing it, and it's too high. You got to play it in a lower key. That can get hairy in a hurry. Harry in a hurry. All right. So that's it for now.